Hello, and thank you for joining us for the virtual launch of the new picture book, Out into the Big Wide Lake, hosted by Surrey Place and Tundra Books. My name is Bruce Edwards. I'm a speech-language pathologist that has worked at Surrey Place for the last 18 years. I worked with adults with developmental disabilities, and I worked alongside Paul Harbridge for most of those 18 years, right up until his retirement from Surrey Place in 2018. This new book, written by Paul Harbridge and illustrated by Josee Bisaillon, is a wonderful story about a young girl with Down syndrome who gains confidence and independence through a visit to her grandparents. Based on Paul's own sister, this book just went on sale yesterday. Surrey Place, who is hosting today's event, provides specialized clinical services that are responsive to individuals' needs and promote health and well-being in the Toronto region. We help children and adults living with developmental disabilities, autism spectrum disorder, and visual impairments reach their full potential. We offer a variety of groups and workshops for clients, families, and caregivers, and extensive education and consultation services to community agencies. Surrey Place acknowledges that Toronto is located on the traditional territory of many diverse nations. Toronto was originally home to the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit. Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit and Chippewa bands. We also acknowledge that Toronto is home to many diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit today. A quick bit about what will happen during our virtual launch. First, we'll hear from the book's editor, Samantha Swenson, who will introduce Paul Harbridge. Paul will talk a bit about his book, then do a storytime reading for us. After that, we'll introduce Chris Butler, one of Surrey Place's mail couriers, who will do a little Q&A with Paul. Then we'll hear from Josee Bisaillon about illustrating Out into the Big Wide Lake. And finally, we'll end with a book giveaway. Before we hear from author Paul Harbridge, I'm going to introduce the book's editor, Samantha Swenson. Sam is an editor with Tundra Books, an imprint of Penguin Random House Canada, and Canada's oldest English children's book publisher. She worked with Paul on his previous book, When the Moon Comes, which was a finalist for the TD Canadian Children's Literature Award and a Governor General's Literary Award, and won the Marilyn Bailey Picture Book Award.
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Swenson, and I had the absolute privilege and honor of editing the book we're here to celebrate, Out into the Big Wide Lake. What spoke to me immediately about this book was two words: why not? To me, this encapsulates the beauty of picture books, the ability for a minuscule number of words to hold infinite possibilities. In this story, at every moment of something new, Kate asks, "Me?" And her grandmother responds, "Why not?" And with these two words, the world opens up. Why not indeed? Those words are empowering, those words are life-changing, those words are even a little scary, especially for Kate's rightfully nervous mom. These two words allowed Kate to ask the question of herself and answer with bravery and spirit. After reading the story for the first time and sitting with it, I also realized how meaningful it is to have a character with Down syndrome inhabit the space of the every character. Kate's Down syndrome doesn't define her character here. Her challenges aren't defined by it either. These are challenges that all kids face: trying something new for the first time, overcoming fear, being given a level of responsibility that's new, and challenges that all parents face as well: letting go and trusting your child, trusting that you've given them the tools to take on this new thing. It could be going on a bike ride with a friend for the first time, a first sleepover, a first walk to school on their own, a solo plane trip to see a parent in a different city, or piloting a boat for the first time. Having a character with Down syndrome embody this freedom and this universal experience felt so important and so exciting. Paul's respect for the character is evident in every line. As a writer, he knew how to create a character who leaped from the page to grab you. But as a brother to someone with Down syndrome, he knew how to honor that character's life and experience in a way that is singular. Kate is not just a picture book version of his sister Linda Catherine. Kate is a beautiful embodiment of Paul's love and respect for Linda Catherine, and a celebration of her spirit and personality. To add to Paul's beautiful words, we have Josee's incredible illustrations. She brought Kate to life in such a beautiful way, and I can't imagine this book any other way. Every time I look at it, I fall for the gorgeous palette, the lush lake scenes, and the irrepressible Parbuncle all over again. I hope that everyone who reads this book feels the warmth and love and admiration, and I hope you all fall as in love with Kate as I did. And I hope when you or your loved ones are challenged, you think of those two little words. Why not?
Thanks so much, Sam and Bruce. And thanks to everyone watching the launch of our beautiful new book. Out into the Big Wide Lake is about Kate, a girl who lives in the city with her mom. One day, Kate's grandparents invite her to spend the summer with them at their house on the lake. Kate has never been away from home like that. She is nervous. Her mom is nervous too. Have you ever been nervous about trying something new? I know I have. But at the end, Kate goes with her grandma on a train to the lake. There she makes a friend, a black and white dog named Parbuncle, and she even learns to drive a boat. Okay, are you ready to hear about Kate's adventures with Parbuncle on the Big Wide Lake? Let's go. Out into the Big Wide Lake, written by Paul Harbridge, illustrated by Josee Bisaillon. A stick with an arm and a leg. That was a K. A was a tent. Be careful, stay between the lines. T was a telephone pole and E was a little comb. Her name was Linda Catherine, but everyone called her Kate. There was a knock, knock, knock at the door. Kate wasn't supposed to answer it, even though she was big now. The door opened. A woman stood on the porch. "Hello, Pumpkin," said the woman. "Grandma," cried Kate and ran to give her a hug. "Grandma wants you to go and stay with her and Grandpa for the summer," said Mom. "Me?" said Kate. "Why not?" said Grandma. "Kate has never done anything like that," said Mom nervously. "You did when you were her age," said Grandma. "I know," said Mom, "but Kate, give her a chance," said Grandma. Next day, Grandma and Kate got onto a smoky train. It was a shaky trip with lots of clacking and whistles blowing. The train chugged past farms with cows and over rivers and through forests, and Kate waved at 3 deer standing on a hill. After a long time, they came to a big lake and the train squealed and stopped with a jerk. Grandpa waved at them from the platform. He hugged Kate, and a black and white dog named Parbuncle licked her face. Grandpa helped her into a little wooden boat that moved side to side, forward and back, sort of like a swing. Grandma pulled a cord, a motor started, and away they went, puck, 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 out into the Big Wide Lake. The setting sun reflected pink on the dark water. Kate felt cool spray on her face that smelled like fish. They stepped out onto a dock that wiggled under Kate's feet. They went through a store, her grandparents' store, to their home at the back. They ate beef stew and apple pie and watched the sun go down, and Kate helped Grandma build a model boat. Then it was time to sleep. The bed was strange. Grandma said it was Mum's bed when she was little. Somewhere outside, far down the lake, a bird called. It sounded sad and lonely. Kate wished she were home. Next morning, after sweet tea and pancakes and sticky syrup, Kate helped Grandpa carry groceries to the boat. When it was full, Grandpa threw off the ropes and started the engine. "All aboard!" cried Grandpa. "Me?" said Kate. "Why not?" said Grandpa. Kate waved at two men fishing and at a boy and a girl in a rowboat. Grandpa took the boat into a dock and handed bags of food to a woman in an apron. "Who is this?" said Mrs. Wellington. "My granddaughter Kate. She's going to be my first mate this summer." "I'm sure she'll be a big help," said Mrs. Wellington. They stopped at more docks, and Grandpa and Kate handed out bags and boxes. "Good morning, Mrs. Domanico." "Fine day, Dr. Chan." "How are you, Mrs. Mackenzie?" "One more stop, and then home for lunch," promised Grandpa. They came to a part of the lake with big rocks on both sides. Grandpa took the boat in slow and careful. They made it through and came to a dock. The dock was old and broken, and a thin man sat waiting. "Good morning, Walter," said Grandpa. "You're late," said the man. He sounded mad. He looked mad, too. Grandpa passed the man a box, and the man kneeled down and looked everything over. He counted the potatoes and smelled the milk and poked a long finger through the string beans. "Bruise on this apple," he said. "The girl must have dropped it." "She did not," said Grandpa. After lunch, Grandpa worked in the store. Grandma was down at the dock, pouring gas into the outboard motor of the little wooden boat. "Jump in," said Grandma to Kate and Parbuckle. Grandma pulled the cord, and the motor started up. Off they went, puck, 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 out into the middle of the bay. "Come sit beside me," said Grandma. "Me?" said Kate. "Why not?" said Grandma. Grandma took Kate's hand and they steered the boat together. Pull, and the boat went one way. Push, and the boat went the other. Grandma took her hand off. Kate steered the boat in a circle. "A natural sailor," said Grandma. Every day, Kate helped Grandpa deliver groceries. Kate liked everybody, and everybody liked her, all except that old man, Walter. In the evening, Kate and Grandma went out in the little boat. The steering was tricky, but Kate finally figured it out. She learned to bring the boat in easy and tie her up using a special knot. Grandma showed her how to cut into waves so the boat wouldn't tip. One windy evening, the waves were high, and Kate got mixed up and turned the wrong way. That was scary. The boat rocked so hard, Parbuckle fell out. Poor Parbuckle. It was morning, near the end of the summer. All the groceries were down on the dock. "Oh," said Grandpa suddenly. He touched his chest and sat down hard on the bench. Parbuckle began to whine. Kate ran and got Grandma. A neighbor drove her grandparents to the doctor. Kate and Parbuckle stayed behind. The lake was very quiet. Kate and Parbuckle sat on the bench. Kate looked at the groceries. She thought of all the people. She looked at the little boat. Parbuckle looked at Kate. He seemed to say, "Who's going to deliver all this food?" "Me," said Kate. "Why not?" said Parbuckle. Soon the groceries were on board. Kate untied the ropes. She pulled the cord. Off they went, puck, 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 out into the big wide lake. Mrs. Wellington was surprised to see them. "Where's your grandfather?" she said. "Sick," said Kate. "Oh dear," said Mrs. Wellington. Then Kate and Parbuckle surprised Mrs. Domanico, Dr. Chan, and Mrs. Mackenzie too. Kate looked at the last box. The word on the side said Walter. Oh no. Kate looked at Parbuckle. She wanted to go home. Then she thought of the old man sitting there, waiting and waiting. Off they went, puck, puck, puck. The little boat came to the part of the lake with big rocks on both sides. Kate went in slow and careful. Parbuckle looked nervously into the water. The man was on the dock. "You," said Walter. "All by yourself?" "Yep," said Kate. Kate handed him the box. Walter knelt down to sort through the groceries. "Where's your grandfather?" "Sick," said Kate. She touched her chest. "What?" said Walter. He stood up with difficulty and slowly stepped down into the boat. Kate looked at Parbuckle. "Get moving," said Walter. Kate pulled the cord and took them back out. Puck, puck, puck. "Faster," yelled Walter, but the little boat was going as fast as she could. A wind came up and big waves appeared. The little boat started to rock. A wave came over the side and soaked them. Kate turned the boat into the waves like Grandma had shown her. The little boat was working very hard, going up and down the big dark waves. Finally, they reached Grandpa's dock. Grandpa was asleep in bed. "He'll be fine," said the doctor, "but he can't work for several days." "Thanks for coming to see your brother, Walter," said Grandma when the doctor went out. "He'll be happy to see you." Walter was Grandpa's brother? Kate couldn't believe it. Mom came on the train the next day. For 2 weeks, she and Kate made Grandpa's deliveries. "Just like when I was a girl," said Mom. Summer was over. It was time for Mom and Kate to go home. Grandma, Grandpa, and Parbuckle went with them to the station. So did Walter. Parbuckle licked Kate's face, Walter shook her hand, and Grandpa gave her a hug. "I knew you could do it, Pumpkin," said Grandma. She kissed Kate on the top of the head and gave her a box tied with string. Mom and Kate found their seats. The train started to move. Kate waved. The people got smaller and smaller, and then she couldn't see them anymore. Kate opened the box. Inside was a little wooden boat. A black and white dog sat at the front. At the back, there was a girl. "Who is that brave girl?" said Mom. "Me," said Kate. "It sure is," said Mom, and gave Kate a great big hug. And that's the end of the story. I hope you liked it.
Thank you so much for that wonderful reading, Paul. I'd now like to introduce a special guest, Chris Butler, who's going to ask Paul a few questions about his book. Chris Butler has worked as a mail courier for Surrey Place for 15 years. Welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good. And it's so nice to see you again. And thanks for inviting me to do this with you. I appreciate it.
Cool. So my first question is, your new book is out. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel very excited, Chris, and very appreciative. It's so nice to see a story that you've written turned into a book, especially with all the beautiful pictures in it. It couldn't have turned out better.
Sorry. Does anybody help you with your stories?
Yeah, usually after I write a story, I show it to a friend or to my son Daniel or to my wife Isabel, and they give me some feedback. And then I get great suggestions from my agent, Amy Tompkins, and of course from my editor, Samantha Swenson at Tundra Books. So thanks, everybody. I really appreciate your supporting me.
Did you spend a lot of time on the lake as a kid?
As a matter of fact, yes, I did. I grew up in Gravenhurst, Ontario, and that's very close to Lake Muskoka. And I spent a lot of time out on the lake, boating, canoeing, fishing, diving, swimming. We were there all the time.
Where did you get the idea of Kate?
I got the idea of Kate from my own sister, Linda. She's just a very positive and daring young woman. She always has been. And in fact, I dedicated the book to her. I'll just show you. That's a dedication to her. And I'll read a little bit of it. The brave, loving girl in this story was inspired by my brave, loving little sister, Linda Catherine Harbridge. Linda, who has Down syndrome, has lived her whole life in Gravenhurst, Ontario. Linda was an excellent athlete and won a medal for swimming for Team Canada at the Special Olympics in Vancouver. She played baseball and golf and even won $1,000 in a bowling tournament. She went on long bike rides and once came face to face with a black bear. She still loves swimming and has just taken up snowshoeing.
Did your family have a dog like Paul Buckle?
We had a very affectionate black and white dog named Benji. You can see he's in the introduction as well, in the dedication. And he and Linda went everywhere together. They were inseparable.
Cool. In the story, Kate hears Paul Buckle speak. Did he really talk?
I think that Kate was just working out a difficult situation in her mind. She was working through the ideas and she was just pretending that he was speaking to her and giving her suggestions. Make sense?
makes sense and sensibility.
Very good.
Why is Walter so grumpy?
I think he and Kate's grandfather had a quarrel about some silly thing, like usually happens in families. It happens all the time. But I think it's better that the people talk out those problems and make up, don't you think?
I do think. And I'll keep thinking about it. Is there a message in the story?
Yeah, the message is don't be afraid to try new things, and to you never know until you try, as you yourself well know, Chris.
I bet. Who made the fantastic pictures in the book?
Those were made by a fantastic illustrator named Josee Bisaillon, who is from Montreal. She's done many, many books. And I count myself very lucky that she decided to illustrate my book, because it turned out really well. A little while later, Josee is going to be showing us how she makes her pictures. So that'll be great.
Which picture do you like the best?
I really like the picture. Let me get it. This one right here. It's always hard to get it on camera. I like the picture where Kate is in the bedroom, her very first night away from home at her grandparents' place. She's in the bed feeling lonely, and Harbridge is curled up on the mat beside the bed, and the moon is shining in the window. It's a very, very emotional picture, I think. It's very, very well done.
Are you going to write any more stories about Kate and Harbridge?
Good question, Chris. I've already done a few, and of course I would love it if they became books as well, but we'll just have to see. Have my fingers crossed.
Mine too.
Would you like to see another Kate and Harbridge book, Chris?
I would love to.
Okay.
Does your sister Linda like Out into the Big Wide Lake?
Yeah, she loves it. She especially loves the picture of her at the beginning with Benji, and that it's dedicated to her. She shows it to everybody.
Pretty cool. Well, that wraps up all the questions. Thank you.
Chris, thank you so much. You did a great job. It was a real pleasure talking to you today.
Yeah.
I will now introduce the book's illustrator, who will talk a bit about how she did the art for the book. Josee Bisaillon has illustrated more than 30 children's books, including the award-winning The Snow Knows, as well as magazines and newspapers for adults all around the world. Josee lives just outside of Montreal with her spouse, their 3 children, 1 hairless cat, and many paper characters. Josee, thank you for joining us. Please take it away.
Hi, I'm Josee Bisaillon, and I had the pleasure to illustrate Out into the Big Wide Lake. I'm really happy to be here with you today from my workplace in the South of Montreal to talk to you a little bit about my work. So without further ado, let's begin. So this is where I work, we are in the South Shore of Montreal in Saint-Hubert, and you can see that I really like plants, and I really like to have some drawings of my that my children made, like this one, and I have a bit more over here, this one as well. And I bet you saw my ukuleles. I really enjoy playing music and sing while I'll play the ukulele. And this is some of my books. I have many, many more all around the house. So here we have some sketches of Kate at an early stage. You can see that I tried many, many things for Kate. And here again, this is Kate. And this here is Barbuncle. And here we have some sketches of Grandma and Mom. This is Grandpa and Granduncle. This here is Grandpa. I'm going to show you some of the original art I made. So if I show you this one, this is an image of Kate and Mom here. So as you can see, everything is made out of paper. So everything you see in my illustrations are made out of cut paper. So I cut my paper, I draw, and I make the final montage in Photoshop. So if you look at this side, you can see that everything is cut, then glued together. And I have added some drawings with paint. Usually I use watercolor or gouache to make, for example, the hair is made with gouache. And if I show you the animals, this is Barbuncle. So Barbuncle is made out of construction paper and pastels, the chalk pastels. All of my animals are made like this. I can show you the great blue heron, also made out of construction paper and chalk pastels. And this is the same thing for the cows. Here is one cow, again, made out of construction paper and pastels. I can show you, here is Grandma and Granduncle. Again, if I show you this side, cut paper. Maybe I can show you the little boat that Kate received from Grandma. And again, Kate. So as you can see, she looked a bit like me. So she has red hair, glasses. I really like to illustrate characters with glasses because 2 of my 3 children have glasses. So usually my characters have glasses like me and my children. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed the launch of Out into the Big Wide Lake. Bye.
This has been wonderful. Thank you all for joining us. I encourage you to pick up a copy of Out into the Big Wide Lake from your local bookseller, whether they are doing curbside pickup or in-store shopping these days, or check it out at your library. We are also doing a book giveaway for Out into the Big Wide Lake. To enter, put a comment on this YouTube video. 1 week from today, we'll select one winner randomly to get a signed copy of the book. I want to thank all of you for joining us live today or later. Paul Harbridge, Josee Bisaillon, Tundra editor Samantha Swenson, our interviewer Chris Butler, Tundra Books, and of course, everyone at Surrey Place, especially Jennifer Allen and Jeannie Scantlebury. Please have a great rest of your day and be sure to visit surreyplace.ca to check out the services we provide.